Number 8. The abandoned sea forts. The idea of staying in a cabin perched on stilts in the sea, as you might see in romantic Instagram photos of tropical vacations celebrities and influencers post, may sound amazing. But what if you get rid of the tropical waters and shallow seas? The abandoned sea forts have all of the structure and none of the glam you might imagine, and can be found off the coast of the United Kingdom. In Monsell, UK, amidst the chilling waters of the sea, stands tall a historical sea fort that dates back to the late 1800s. These forts were put to use when World War II was in progress in 1942 and served a very important purpose: to warn or prevent air raids and to relay info if enemy naval ships made their way into the United Kingdom. There were a total of 4 naval forts and 3 manned by the Army. The watchtowers and stations were first built on land and then moved into the sea, roughly 8 miles, 12.8 kilometers off the coast. The fort's locations worked to the advantage of the UK, and the soldiers stationed there managed to shoot down 22 planes and prevent 30 bombings. Ultimately, however, the sea forts were abandoned in 1950 at the end of the fighting. It later became a hiding spot for pirates, and today it is barren and abandoned. If you are interested in visiting, it is now a gloomy historical site that can only be accessed via boat. The forts are now barely standing afoot on their rusted supports. Of course, through the wear and tear over the years, the forts have gained an eerie appearance, and the interiors have deteriorated even more. The interior walls of the sea forts are covered in rust, and sheets of rusted metal are torn away everywhere, not to mention the dilapidated bridge that once connected each building. Indeed, the Monsell sea forts contain an interesting history, but much like an oil rig of today, the sea forts aren't a place for the faint-hearted. Number 7. Poveglia Island. Nestled between Venice and Lido is the small Italian island of Poveglia. For centuries, the island has been a place of exile and a dumping ground for the diseased, dying, and dead. In the year 421, Poveglia welcomed its first inhabitants, those who escaped barbaric invaders that basically destroyed the mainland. The island was too small for large armies to really care, so it was mostly left alone. For hundreds of years, this small community lived in peace. The people avoided the laws and taxes of the mainland. But people started to leave the island, and by the 14th century, it was completely abandoned. The bubonic plague arrived in Europe in 1348, and like many other small islands, Poveglia became a quarantine colony. 1 out of 3 Europeans died from the plague. Fearing the spread of the disease, Venice exiled anyone that had symptoms, sending them to die on the island. People were too sick to protest, and many were simply burned alive. But then the fires spread as quickly as the disease. Long after the fires were put out, Napoleon's military campaign relied on the island's haunted legends and defendable position to protect and store weapons. To make Poveglia even more creepy, in the 1800s an asylum was built. The institution was poorly constructed and was used as a place of exile instead of rehabilitation. In the 1930s, rumors spread that a doctor performed bizarre experiments on the patients, and eventually he went mad and jumped from the bell tower to his death. And even though the bell in the tower was removed, locals claim to hear its chimes echo from the lonely island. Today, the entire island is abandoned, and it's actually illegal to visit. But even if you could, would you want to? Number 6. The Chu Mansion. In Shanghai, China, the Chu Mansion is considered as one of the most haunted and abandoned locations in China. It all began with its original owners, the Chu brothers. The Chu brothers were twins that sought their fortunes in Shanghai after World War I, and at the time, dye was quite expensive. The brothers were in possession of massive amounts thanks to their German former employer fleeing the city due to the conflict, leaving the brothers with the goods that would turn them into millionaires. They were also quite extravagant with their money, buying 2 mansions that were beside one another where the brothers lived with their friends and families. They had elegant gardens that they filled with exotic animals including tigers, crocodiles, birds, and more. However, the Chu brothers suddenly vanished without a trace, and from that point on, the connected mansions became desolate and the poor animals starved to death. Currently, only one of the mansions remains, while the other was demolished and lost to time. The remaining mansion is haunted enough to send some major shivers down your spine. There are bone-chilling stories about it that date back to 2009, from phantom animal bites that sent the nearby workers to the hospital, to allegedly lizard-like creatures possessing people to kill others. It would seem like the souls of the past animals came back to ravage those that touched their owner's property. Despite construction needs, most people are forbidden to go inside due to the lurking dangers, and there are multiple rumors, but reports are unsure about the truth behind the stories. Number 5. The Japanese Navy Underground Headquarters. Japan has its fair share of creepy places, but this one dates back to World War II, the former underground headquarters for the Japanese Navy. In Okinawa, Japan, there are numerous sites that now serve as historical symbols depicting the events of World War II. One of which is this eerie and creepy Japanese Navy underground headquarters, which was built in 1940 during the Battle of Okinawa. It can be accessed through a tunnel system in the city of Naha Tomaigusuku. Inside it is the forbidden history about the soldiers that fought to their last breath. However, not all of their deaths came from their enemies. Instead, some of it came from among themselves. Upon hearing the news of losing the battle, some of the soldiers committed suicide inside the underground premises. The most notable one was the hand grenade suicide. There are telegrams from previous battles that are still found lying around. The most disturbing one might be the last document issued, before the commanding officer committed suicide seconds after writing it. It is estimated that 222 soldiers died inside the headquarters, while only 14 survived. Today, the underground headquarters are free to explore, but doing so feels creepy and uncomfortable, especially if you know the dark history of the tunnels. The rooms inside serve as a painful reminder of the war, and the tunnels are dark, poorly lit, and narrow. Visiting this location to explore would definitely be an adventure for those who seek pleasure in fear. Number 4. The Clark Air Base Hospital. In Pampanga, Philippines, an abandoned hospital that was built in 1960 and once had the most up-to-date treatment methods has now gained a certain reputation when it comes to the creepy factor and disturbing stories surrounding it. The Clark Air Base Hospital was once the Philippines' finest hospital until it was hit and damaged by a Japanese air raid, as it served as a stronghold for the US and Philippine armies. During that time, families were celebrating Christmas with the patients and soldiers. The bombing damaged the hospital beyond repair and killed the helpless civilians as well as soldiers inside. From that point on, Clark Hospital had become a barren and abandoned location, and according to the locals, haunted by the souls of the victims killed in the bombing. Considered by National Geographic to be one of the creepiest abandoned places on Earth, Clark Air Base's abandoned hospital is now a dark exploration spot for tourists. Today, if you look inside the hospital, you'll find scattered debris and other evidence of the painful past. Locals say if you listen closely enough and look hard enough, you can hear and spot the rumored ghosts of the hospital. Spooky, right? Number 3. The Island of the Dolls. In Xochimilco, Mexico, an island nicknamed the Island of the Dolls is terrifying to gaze upon. Immediately visible are the strange dolls that adorn the branches of the trees, rather than fruits or flowers as you might expect. So, what's the story behind this creepy island? It starts in the mid-20th century. Don Julian, a man with his wife, decided to live a solitary life on an island. During that time, he was dismayed when he spotted a dead body of a young girl, who was later revealed to be a girl that drowned while swimming with her friends, washed up on the island's canal with a doll. Don Julian somehow thought nothing of this and buried the girl, but soon misfortune overtook him, and Don Julian started seeing the girl everywhere. So he and his wife built an altar for the girl, and if that wasn't enough, Don Julian took the doll that came with the girl and hung it up on a tree. Somehow he wasn't satisfied with doing just that, so he proceeded to hang 1,000 more throughout the 50 years of his life, and eventually he died, suffering a heart attack in the same canal where the girl was found. This news spread like wildfire, and the island became a hotspot for tourists who came in to witness the decaying, dismembered dolls hanging around the entire island. Some even believe that Don Julian didn't die of a simple heart attack, but instead was dragged by the ghost of the girl who drowned him in the canal. Would you risk a visit to this terrifyingly decorated island? Let us know in the comments below and make sure you like and subscribe as well. Number 2. The Suicide Forest. In Nagasaki, Japan, resides a place commonly known as the Suicide Forest. This location in nature has become a destination well known for its yearly casualties of about 100 people. Now, there's not much to explain, since even experts are baffled by the reason why so many people choose to commit suicide in this forest. It may be a coincidence, or it may be a greater power pulling people into their deaths. Even the stories from the tourists who visit the forest are no joke. From vengeful spirits, distorted whispers, and unknown blood-curdling screams, to real dead bodies hanging around the forest, people have apparently seen and heard it all. Truly, the Suicide Forest is not a place you want to be, even if you're just planning to explore. With its weird ambiance and oddly warped trees, the forest itself is haunting in its own right. You may, however, pay tribute to those who lost their lives inside the forest. But by no means should you go there with that one specific purpose. And if you do, there are numerous things that'll help you stop from taking the next step. Like a sign reminding you of your loved ones, to an old man down the road blasting lovely music to distract you from reality. But nothing can take away the name that the forest has earned for itself. It certainly is a bone-chilling place to witness and visit. Number 1. The abandoned Soviet Union bunker. In 2017, just below an abandoned factory in Russia, a bunker that belonged to the Soviet Union was found. Inside it was the remnants of what used to be a place for soldiers to defend against the enemies in World War II. The bunker appears to be decrepit and had remained untouched for decades, with all of the equipment and items left in place, collecting dust. However, between the rooms that once held the Soviet Union soldiers was a littered area with gas masks, paperwork, and clothes spread all around, signifying that whoever left the place left in a hurry. The entire bunker itself gave off a creepy ambiance with an airtight atmosphere. Thankfully, the person that discovered the bunker, YouTuber Shai, made it out and shared his findings with the world. We got to uncover another undiscovered location, but due to this, we have little to no information about what happened in the bunker, about whether or not someone had died in there, or why it was abandoned. Whatever that may be, the answer may reveal itself in time. These are all creepy, but some of these abandoned places were truly terrifying. Which abandoned place are you most fascinated by? Let us know in the comments, and thanks for watching today. Make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. See you next time. Bye!